Hey, glad to see everybody again. It's been a while since I made a video. Wanted to do a couple videos today. Making the fondant. I'm doing the second batch of fondant, and the first one they already have almost ate it all. And I said it in the first video, but I challenge anybody to find any better bee food than this fondant. I've tried everything over the years, and there's nothing that beats this for ease of use for the beekeeper and for the way the bees take it. But I want to talk to you a little bit today about the question, just to make you think, are we raising sissy bees? I have kept bees for a long time and have kept, at times I've kept really, really good records, and the other 90% of the time I kept really bad records. But there's been times I kept really good records, and I know from keeping those records that the hives that I've tried to nurse, I can get a hive to last through the winter. That's not a problem. I can nurse that hive and feed it and add bees to it and do whatever I need to do to get that hive through the winter. The problem is that hive doesn't make any honey. You nurse that hive all winter, all spring, and all summer, and into the next year. And if you keep it going, you'll keep nursing that hive. And a lot of this boils down to what is our motive, what is our reason for keeping bees. And I realize everybody's not trying to make a honey crop. I realize some people are not trying to make money. Some people will say, if you want to make $1 million beekeeping, start with $2 million. But you can make some, if you do it right, you can make some money off these bees. But you have to do things right. And if we're going to nurse a hive and do every single thing for it, and it doesn't have to do it for itself, you can get 20 for 20 through the winter. But I'm not sure that I want 20 for 20. We almost compete. Well, what was your survival rate? Mine was 96%. Well, mine was 98. Well, mine was only 62. Well, I don't want to compete like that. I want hives that's going to come through the winter, but is also going to go out and collect pollen and not be lazy and go out and get nectar when it's time to get nectar, and going to take care of the brood and be resilient and have a little resistance to the mites and to the problems that bees have. I want strong bees. I want bees that's adapted to the local area. And yes, that does make a difference. And I want bees that are strong and able to do stuff on their own. I've been on both sides of the spectrum on this. I've nursed the crap out of bees. I kept records on it, and I could tell you how much money I made off of one hive as compared to another hive. And yeah, in Kentucky, we make on average 60 pounds of honey per hive. But what we'll make is 120 pounds on one hive and 0 on another. So I think we're taking a lot of bees through the winter and getting them through there by nursing and a lot of these methods that we're using. But a lot of those bees are not doing anything after the fact. In the spring and summer, we end up nursing them. They're a continuous problem. It's kind of like, I worked at Ford, and committeemen, the union people, would spend 90% of the time with problem people. The good people they didn't spend any time with, because they never had a problem. They spent all their time with people that were chronically late or absent or had problems, it seemed like. And a lot of times we do that with the bees. And I'm not sure, I don't want to compete with you on my winter survival rate. And I'm not going to compete with you on other stuff either. But there's like an unwritten rule in beekeeping. We want to talk about, see who can be the most detailed and the most, have the most details about our knowledge in bees, and we want to compete on survival rate. And I don't think that's the road we should be taking. If we're going to compete, I would compete on pounds per honey per hive. The amount of, I would never do this, but if we were going to compete, I would compete on how much we spent and how much we made How much did the bees do for us? How did they, were they resilient? Were they strong? Were they susceptible to mites? I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where we have hives that we can leave alone and not treat at all. We're going to have to treat our bees, and we're going to have to walk that line. I've been on the other side and not treated. I've been on the other side and not fed. I thought if my bees are going to make it, they're going to do it on their own. They've done it for years. That's what they're going to do now. That's too far the other way. But too far on the other side of that spectrum is doing absolutely everything for the bees where they don't have to do it themselves. They adapt. Animals adapt. If we have an inside dog that we take care of and we do everything for it, it doesn't have to go out and look for food and do the things that outside dogs do. If we had a wild animal and we brought it in and it was injured, or we try to nurse it back to health and we do everything for it, it's sometimes hard to release that animal back in the wild because it's not, it loses the ability to find food and find things for itself because we've done everything for it. So I think we have to walk a line. A lot of beekeeping is walking the line and figuring out where we need to be. We want our hives to make it through. I want all my hives to make it through the winter. But I also want, if it doesn't make it through the winter, if I have a hive that's not capable of collecting enough honey, taking care of the mite problem, taking care of all the things that they have to deal with, whether you believe it or not, bees are very resilient. They're not easy to kill. They make it through things. They've kept bees down to 65 below zero and they've been fine. It's not cold. You know, I hear people talk about all the time, well, it's too cold. I don't want my bees getting cold. My favorite winter is a cold winter. This winter has been a good winter as far as I'm concerned because the bees have to cluster and they don't eat as much of their honey. My bees have made it better through the winter this year than they did last year because last year we didn't have a cold winter like we have, and hopefully we'll have some more cold weather. I hope it's not over. But the bees are resilient. They can handle that stuff if they're a strong hive. But if the genetics of my hives are going to adapt to the way that I keep them. If I do everything for them, they're going to adapt to that. If I do what I need to do and not go overboard with it, the hives, by attrition, those hives, the weak hives are going to die. The ones that probably wouldn't have made honey anyway are going to move on to their future home. And the strong hives are going to survive. So if I have 20 hives and 10 of them are strong hives and some of the weaker ones pass on, I'm going to have, next year, I'm going to have stronger hives because that's what survived. If I keep nursing these weak bees, these sissy bees, that's what we're going to get. The genetics we're going to get we're going to have more sissy bees. So something to think about, how much we've went, we used to go down the road, I'm not doing anything for them. I think we went through beekeepers went through a cycle of don't do anything. Now it seems like we're in a cycle of do absolutely everything, don't leave anything to the bees. And I think we went too far the other way. So think about your sissy bees. Think about your hives that you've had to nurse. If you want to nurse them, everybody can keep bees the way they want to, but you're creating the genetics of your future. 5 years from now, the genetics that you have are going to be because of what you did this year in 2025. It's going to be, you're going to either have stronger bees or you're going to have weaker bees. So just think about it. Think about your weak hives. Are they making honey? Keep track of it. Keep a record on it. See what you think. But we've got it. Timing, walking the line. That's what I was trying to think of. Timing and walking the line are very important. And where we're at on that, we don't need to be too far one way where we don't do anything. They're going to need feed. There was somebody on Facebook not too long ago that was asking for bees that's never been fed, never been treated, never been basically taken care of, and to call them up because they wanted some honey. That doesn't happen. So we can be too far that way, but we can also be too far everything for them and treating the crap out of them, and instead of being okay with some of the weak ones, if they're not going to make it, the attrition, whatever you want to call it, that we've got to be in the middle there somewhere. And I just want you to be aware of it. I want you to think about the weak ones. Hopefully your hives are numbered and you've got them labeled. But keep an eye on those bees and see what they do. You know, if you can bring them through the winter and get them through and they make 100 pounds of honey each, then more power to you. But I think if you keep a really close watch on it, you'll see that the ones that you don't have to worry about are going to be your best hives. And that's what we want to bring into the future and bring into our genetics, and have queens that are of those genetics and have strong bees. You create that. You know, I quit treating my bees and got frustrated and lost all my genetics that I'd built up over years. All those went down the drain because I let my bees die, because I didn't treat them. So I've been on both sides. I've been on that side, lost all my bees. So we have to be in the middle there somewhere. We need to help them out, but we don't need to do everything for them. So pay attention to what you've got. Be careful about doing too much for them. Try to walk the line, and figure out where that line's at, and figure out where that timing's at. We'll be coming up on splits. I've already seen that a lot of the bees are moved up in the top box, and a lot of the timing, and when we rotate boxes, and when we start making splits, and when we feed pollen. I know we differ on some of that timing, but that's where it's at in beekeeping. It's timing, where to walk the line, where to be on that line. So I just wanted to bring that up and talk about it a little bit, and just get you to thinking a little bit. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll see you on the next video.